Good day, all. Today we're doing a name, three-dimensional name in perspective. Here's some of the tools you need, just simply for the time being, a pencil, eraser, and ruler. I'm going to start off with a horizontal line and then a vanishing point on top. Now, initially I put this about middle in the paper, but later on I decided that was a little bit too low, so I ended up moving it a little bit higher. But for the time being, that's where I had it. Okay, now what I want to do is I'm going to put a guideline for the top of my letters, my block letters, and a baseline for the bottom of my letters. Now what I want to do is begin spacing out the different letters that I have, and I have 5, so I want to kind of make them to where they're all going to fit. None of them are real thin, they're all about the same size, so I'm making them probably about 2 inches wide with about a 1/4 inch gap in between. Don't forget to put that gap in there because that'll give you the correct spacing. And you can count them off, make sure that all your letters are included, and then just very simply block in your letters. And you can look up on the internet different types of block lettering if you want to, but I'm just doing a pretty basic block lettering style with, again, just right now I'm just using stick lines, but I'm going to add mass and width to the letter here in the next step. Getting that A in there, and then finally the U. And again, they're just stick letters, and I'm going to come in here and I'm going to give them width here in just a minute. And I sped this up a little bit, but basically what I'm doing is I'm making each line probably about a 1/4 inch in width. Make sure you don't forget this part. This is really going to make your name stand out once you put it in perspective. Okay, here's the part I was talking about. I was getting ready to do this, and I want to make that effect a little bit more dramatic. So what I did was I erased that vanishing point. And that's okay at this point because I haven't started drawing any perspective lines. I'm going to put my eye level line a little bit higher, and since my eye level line is high, it's going to look like I'm looking down on the letters. I put my vanishing point. Don't forget to include your vanishing point, and all these lines are going to converge back to the vanishing point, just like we did in the exercise with the 3 boxes on, above, and below the eye level line. Now, each one of these corners is going to go back to the vanishing point. We don't have to go completely back, but you have to go back a good ways. Every corner that can go back to the vanishing point goes back. And basically what I mean by that is you're going to have some corners that are going to get blocked out by other letters, other parts of other letters. In that case, you're just going to make a short line and then stop. And now I'm going to continue this process the whole way. Notice I'm still going back to the vanishing point. These are converging lines going back to the vanishing point. We're going to kick it up a notch here and go just a little bit faster, but I think you guys get the idea. Okay, very good. Now, here we go with finishing the tops of our letters off. I'm going to take my ruler and make basically horizontal tops to these letters. Now you can see the one, I made it a little short, so I'm going to go back and correct that, make it just a little bit longer, because again, I want to have that dramatic effect. Now I think I'm ready to go here, so I'm going to slide that ruler up to the depth, because remember now we are creating the illusion of depth here. I'm going to make it just, oh, it's probably about 1 inch up, but it's going to look like it goes back a foot or so. And I'm going to put the top of the line, and notice how what I'm doing is I'm lining up the top of the letter, and that space is going to go up, and it's going to be the same at the top. The top of the letter, and then go up for the same 2 lines. They're basically parallel lines are what they are. And I'm going to do this for each one that has a top. Okay, now some of my letters have angles like the M. And so what I'm going to do for the M, well, after I erase, clean everything up. Okay, once I clean it up, now I can get started with my M. Notice the angle of my M. I'm pointing that out right there. I want to repeat this angle and connect the lines at the top. So I'm going to line my ruler up and take it up to the point there and repeat that line. And notice I slide that ruler up, so I want to maintain that angle. Same thing's happening with this one. Only in this case, it's a vertical line. Now, with this curve on the U, it still is a vertical line, but it has a little bit of bend in it. So I'm going to use my ruler, slide it over, keep that line vertical, and then draw it down until I feel that that's at the appropriate place to stop. And then I'm just going to put a little bit of a bend on that U. There's a parallel vertical line. Same thing's happening with my M here, a parallel angled line, and the same thing with the other side of the M. Here I am at the U, or I'm sorry, here I am at the A. I want to keep that line parallel, so that's why I put the ruler on my A, and then I slid it back. Do the same thing with the U, a parallel vertical line. I go back till I reach the top of my U, and then I just bend that line in a little bit. And I'm going to finish up with my U here. Very good. There are some places at the bottom that also need cleaned in, and I'm going to put them in there as well. And now what I want to do is I'm going to ink in these letters. Everybody needs to ink them in. You should have a ink pen in your kit for you. And you'd want to ink in the entire name with all the converging lines that you made. Now, one thing that you want to be aware of as you're doing this is that these, as you're doing it with your pen, they'll get a little bit of ink on the edge of your ruler. So occasionally what you want to do is pull that ruler away and wipe it down with a tissue or a paper towel or something like that to get the ink off the edge of the ruler, or it might smudge. Okay, just going to speed this process up here a little bit. And we want to take care when we're putting the ink down. We want to avoid smudging as much as possible. Get it finished up here. Be done in a couple seconds. Voila. Okay, now for adding colors. I've chosen 3 warm colors here, and you'll notice that I have this dark blue on the left-hand side. I have red, yellow, and orange, which are my warm colors, and then a kind of a darker blue pencil. That other thing was a pencil sharpener. You need to keep your pencil sharp as you're working on this. When I do the face of the letter, what I want to do is as it comes from left to right, it's going to start off as a red-orange and then gradually get more towards a yellow-orange. And the process that I'm going to be using here is I'm actually going to be layering these pencils. And I put a little bit of orange down there. I really wasn't happy with that color, so I came in and I put some red on top of it. A little bit happier with the color here, so I'm going to continue that process, at least for the letter M. And then I'm going to switch it up as I go across. As you're using the colored pencil, try to maintain a consistent stroke, moving in one direction. Okay, now you'll notice I'm about ready to speed it up here, but what I'm doing is I'm layering this color. I'm going to be using an orange and then a red on top, and then eventually I'm going to use an orange with a yellow on top. But there's actually layers of color there. And then I'm going to go back to my orange and back to my red. And so my hope was to get it to go from red-orange to a yellow-orange back to a red-orange. Now what I want to do is I'm putting in a base of blue to show where the letters are going to be a little bit darker. When I'm done here, as I'm layering the red over top, this will appear more like a shadow than actually the color blue. If I use my pencil correctly and continue to layer it, that blue color almost disappears. and it gets absorbed with the red and the orange. And notice how the shadow, it begins to create a shadow. When I'm done here, I'm actually going to come back in and do a little bit more work with the blue on top, and then what I'll do is I'll come back and I'll even put more red on top. So it's just a matter of trial and error and just keep working at it. Hope you enjoyed it.